All right, this is officially not a drill for the people who just want the information and they'll get out. Boom, we have the official release date for the first ladder season of Diablo 2 Resurrected. The patch 2.4 will go live on Battle.net on April 14th, 2022. As of today, right now, that is a whopping 3 weeks away. And then ladder will go live April 28th, 2022. So you take your 2 weeks post that, we are 5 weeks away from the official ladder start date. I'm going to go ahead and go through the rest of the post now, but for people who just wanted that date and didn't want to watch a long intro, there you go. You have it. That's when it's happening. Now let's look at why there has been delays, what the team has been doing about it, and how they're trying to change just how effective they are at communicating. So Pez Radar in other posts has made it abundantly clear that the team has been working on some issues. They have been working to understand them in their entirety so that all of them are resolved and we're no longer seeing these ripple effects on both the live server and the potential start date for the ladder. And on top of that, just to very quickly advocate for them, we need to remember that Diablo 2 isn't just a single game on BNet that a much smaller company at the time had full access to and didn't have to worry about many other things. Diablo 2 Resurrected is a global game across multiple game console platforms, meaning that Blizzard is working with a lot of different companies when it comes to being able to roll out stuff to this game. Try to keep that in mind. Let's start giving them the benefit of the doubt. They are literally doing their best. I'll stop preaching. Let's read through this very quickly. We wanted to provide an update to the Diablo community regarding the latest on the 2.4 balance changes patch in our very first ladder season. First, we just wanted to thank everybody for the feedback and testing over the last several weeks as we honed in on various database, server, and balance changes that will be arriving with this update for D2R, Diablo 2 Resurrected. Here, they start basically explaining the thing that I just said. They ran into a bunch of problems, and they were looking to resolve and fix all these things so we weren't seeing problems once the patch and the ladder went live. Most importantly, to not affect the 99 race. Now, as most people know, but may not necessarily appreciate, ladder isn't just ladder rune words go live, you start playing your character and you play through the season. It can be for the more casual experience, but there is an incredibly intense race. We're talking about the first ladder season for Diablo 2 Resurrected ever, 20 years after this game originally came out. The first ladder race to 99 is going to be realistically the highest publicized 99 race in Diablo history. This is the kind of stuff that's going to be on the front cover of the majority of gaming websites out there. So they want to make sure that this race to 99 is as fair and equitable as possible for everybody who is interested in legitimately competing. What happened? You may recall that we've been working through extensive updates on the backend and database services for the game. Over the last few months, the team has been implementing these updates to the server and database using learnings from the PTR and from the immense help the community provided during these testing phases. Last week, we had some extended downtime for D2R, which was to implement the final batch of changes from our PTR to our production environments. During this update, we unfortunately ran into quite a few showstoppers that did not appear on PTR, but were present in production environments. Due to that, we extended the maintenance as we needed to roll back the changes so we didn't affect users and could get the game back up and running. What were the showstoppers? First off, hats off. Pez Radar, community manager at large. Like, this is so much good information. We have a bullet point list of the problems that we're run into. It's not just some kind of vague database, happened. Thank you. Thank you, Adam. We experienced an issue where a good swath of stashes didn't convert correctly. The database unfortunately did not migrate to the new format and was not seen in the PTR until we moved it to production. This was due to PTR testing being brand new to the game. They have implemented a whole new stash system that's going to take your ladder stash and it's going to convert that into a pull only stash option so that you can retrieve your items from your ladder characters, disperse them to your non ladder characters and your non ladder stashes. And this thing is impermanent. It's going to refresh and empty itself after every other ladder season. So having that work correctly is incredibly important. Imagine how many people at the end of a ladder season were going to get their characters converted over, lose half of their rune words, and absolutely go bananas. So, very important issue. I'm glad they were able to catch this early on. There was a missing index on the database, which was causing things to go much slower in production and was not noticeable on PTR. This then led to slow joining and creation of games. We were able to add that index, but additional time was required to look over the database performance and ensure we did not have any other new slow points. So, again, taking something, trying to test for all odds on the PTR. You have a QL team who's going through and is trying to literally test every instance that they can, but it wasn't able to be seen in the test environment, which is what the PTR realistically is. But when pushed to production, this missing portion of their database was not allowing for appropriate load times and game creation times. Now that they knew that there was one issue, it is logical to assume that there was probably other issues and they were trying to bake in time to be able to find any of those and resolve them as well, since the PTR wasn't making this abundantly clear through their testing on it. Very important again. As a quick background, I used to work with a tech company that made software. I was the one awake at midnight on Go Live, and when we were finally pushing new code to production, and then watching what happened in the production end. This is something that no amount of QL can really account for because it just works different once you change the environment and you finally alter the code. That's just kind of how it goes down. Again, glad that this could get caught early. Lastly, because PTR was just one single regional database, we experienced a few additional database issues on production as that has multiple regions, and thus didn't surface some of the errors we were seeing. Thankfully, will be addressed in future PTRs since there will be multiple regional databases going forward. So literally in their first PTR, they built the database structure in a single way since everybody was forced into the same region. Taking this and then adding the new code and the new database infrastructure to a multi-regional database setup brought up some issues. Again, not visible on the PTR, but PTR moving forward looks like it's going to have this multi-regional database infrastructure so that it will have a much more accurate representation of what it will look like once it is pushed into production. Again, super good. Sounds like the PTR structure is also being more codified, which very important here, super important here. There are going to be future PTRs. Now, I think most people had that as a given. I'm assuming seasonal changes, something closer to Diablo 3. But it's just nice to know that, very least, there's going to be at least one more PTR in the future for Diablo 2 Resurrected for something. So I'm pretty excited about that. And just to very quickly read through the rest that they have. Since last week's maintenance, the team has been able to identify and address all of these issues. We'll be doing another maintenance for D2R to implement these changes to production on March 29th. So it looks like March 29th is a third date we have to look out for. We expect time to be around 6 hours for these changes. So a pretty lengthy little server downtime, but nothing new if you're a Blizzard game fan. These updates will allow us to have an improved experience during high load times where we would otherwise need to rely on longer queue times and higher rate limiting on game sessions during very high traffic situations. So, super important, a massive amount of maintenance work is going into the production environment so that the servers are able to manage higher traffic at peak traffic hours without resorting to longer queue times and higher rate limiting. I assume we'll still see some amount of this because, I mean, the game's popular, especially worldwide, not just in the West. Game is super popular. So it's nice to know that there's work that's being put in for optimization so that when everybody's trying to be on the game at the same time, we're going to be getting less of those queue times and less of those rate limiting effects. Again, to reiterate, with that maintenance, we should be good to go for getting 2.4 out to users. 2.4 is planned for April 14th release. Ladder will follow 2 weeks later on April 28th. Again, so 3 weeks for patch 2.4 to go live on BattleNet as it is right now. Then 2 weeks later, so 5 weeks in total, we are getting the ladder launch. We purposely want to have a gap between 2.4 launch and ladder launch in order to give the team time to react to any further unforeseen issues that may arise on PC and consoles from deploying the 2.4 patch itself and ensure the smoothest possible ladder season 1 start. Just to hammer on this, again, remember, this game isn't just BattleNet, PC, smaller Blizzard North, controlling everything. This game is being rolled out across multiple consoles. Each one of those consoles is their own company. They have their own things that they need to do to allow stuff like this to roll out updates onto a game on their platform. So everything is being baked into this date as it is. Again, we apologize for the delay with this update. Let me reread that. Again, we apologize for the delay with this update, but we want to ensure that we are creating the most optimal and fair environment for the first ever D2R ladder season. We do have some great community events and plans for the ladder launch, which we'll be revealing in the coming weeks. Ooh. I'm excited. I'm very excited. A lot. So if for people who don't know, I started off playing Hearthstone and making Hearthstone content back in the Stone Age. Do not go watch those videos. They are not good. But there's like a ton of community outreach and events and like that Hearthstone, fireside event kind of stuff that I was really excited there was potential for something like that with D2R. And it sounds like we got community events and plans for ladder launch. So look forward to that in the upcoming weeks. Maybe in the next 2-ish weeks, I assume, just based off the timetable that they're giving us here. So hopefully when that launches, we'll find out more. And thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are as excited as I am for finally getting this ladder launch. To commiserate, look, I get it. It sucked waiting this long. But, and I know this is always this is the penultimate silver lining. I'd rather have an uneventful ladder start than launch the game on that day and then stare at a blank screen with a queue time. Whatever they can do to make it so that on that day I click create character and I'm in a game, I'm willing to wait for. And I hope that that helps to kind of mollify and keep you all patient as well. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.